Switzerland and Europe. On June 1st, the world's largest and longest, should I say, deepest rail tunnel was officially opened in Switzerland. And that after almost 2 decades of construction work, which I believe is a bit of a rarity today. Most countries simply lack the political stability it takes for that sort of project. Projects that come to fruition decades after commissioning are very difficult to sell to an electorate. Expenditure is immediate, at least the initial investment. Overall costs usually exceed initial projections and budgets, and that is quite normal, seeing that there are so many imponderables, so many question marks, so many unforeseens, particularly when we're talking about civil engineering works. Benefits are reaped in the far, far future, sometimes by the following generation. And finally, there is the danger of a change in government. And the following government might not support the project, therefore bringing it to a grinding halt. Now, of course, the project I'm talking about is the Gotthard-Base Tunnel. It is a high-speed rail link under the Swiss Alps between the north and the south of Europe. The Gotthard Pass is at 2,100 meters of altitude, and now, thanks to the new base tunnel, the cantons of Ticino in the Italian-speaking part of the country and the cantons of Uri in the German-speaking part of the country are connected. Now, I will spare you most of the technical specifications. Suffice it to say that the tunnel is a twin-bore tunnel, meaning that 2 pipes were drilled through the massive mountain. It is not the first tunnel through the Gotthard, however. The first one was opened in 1882. It was a rail tunnel, and it cost 200 lives to build it because 200 construction workers died in its construction. And it is 15 kilometers long. The second one was built almost 100 years afterwards in 1980. It was a road tunnel, 17 kilometers long, and it is the infamous tunnel that remained closed for 2 months in 2001 after a fatal fire. Now, the base tunnel, the new twin-bore tunnel, is set to revolutionize European freight transport. Goods that are currently carried by 1 million trucks every year would simply be loaded onto the rail in a so-called piggyback system. So rather than the trucks traveling on the roads and through the tunnel, you would have trucks being put on railway cars and then taken through the mountain. So the Gotthard Base Tunnel is not yet another road tunnel. It is a railway tunnel. And similar to the Channel Tunnel, we no longer have individual vehicles with individual drivers at the wheel, but rather we have one train conductor or 2 assisted by a lot of technology, making crossing the mountain a lot more safe. Now, with this civil engineering feat, the Swiss have overtaken Japan's Seikan Tunnel, which totals 53.9 kilometers in length, and the Gotthard Base Tunnel, with its, I believe, 57 kilometers, is longer even than the Channel Tunnel, linking the United Kingdom to France. The inauguration ceremony was held with the usual pomp and circumstance, amidst a number of dignitaries from both Switzerland and abroad. Now that's a curious fact, perhaps. The Swiss federal president, Mr. Ammann Schneider, in his address, said that this was a giant step for Switzerland, but equally for our neighbors in the rest of Europe. Interesting, because the Swiss have resisted further political integration with the Europe surrounding them for some time now. And every time this was taken to the Swiss populace in a referendum, they voted not to join the European Union. That was the case in 1992, and then again very recently in 2014. They voted against membership, even though it is true that thanks to the bilateral agreements, a lot of the acquis communautaire has in fact been adopted by Switzerland as well. There were other European leaders, including German Chancellor Angela Merkel, French President François Hollande, the Italian Prime Minister Matteo Renzi was there, and the Austrian Chancellor Christian Kern. Mr. Hollande recalled the great Franco-British project, the Channel Tunnel, which was completed in 1994, saying that nobody could have imagined that one day you would be able to travel from England to France in that way. Again, an interesting quote, seeing that on June 23rd, the British decided to leave the European Union and put just a little more distance between them and their closest European neighbor on the mainland. And that is probably the reason why some argue that there is a disconnect between politicians and people in Europe. Europe, so they say, is a construct, only dreamt up by some visionaries, perhaps even utopians, by the likes of Schumann, of Adenauer, of de Gasperi and Bech. But that's a misconception. Europe's goods are in high demand all over Europe. Italian wine, for example, for the Netherlands. And they are in dire need of those. German cars for the Greek. Now, admittedly, they do not need them as much, particularly seeing the recent scam around German cars. And also because at this stage they're probably prohibitively expensive for most Greeks. But all of that to show that the goods still have to cross the Alps, and with the new base tunnel, they can do so much faster and much more ecologically. Thank you.